Good afternoon, and thank you for joining us today. My name is Ulubukheng Mokhomotsi. The South African Bar Association hosts a speaker on a bi-weekly basis to deal with a legal topic that is intended to assist legal practitioners and any other interested parties, both locally and internationally, with training and development, which ties in perfectly with our core values as an organization. Just a few housekeeping rules before we begin. Please ensure that all your videos are switched off and that your microphones are muted during the address. Should you have a question, simply just raise using the Teams hand-raising icon and you will be given an opportunity. A Q&A segment will commence at the end of the session, that is after our speaker has given his address. We appeal that all your questions be strictly aligned to the topic that is discussed today. I would like to take this opportunity and introduce our speaker today, Advocate Munyangama. Munyangama started his legal career in South Africa as a candidate attorney at Mashishi Attorneys from 2011 to 2013. This stint has provided him with an opportunity to, among other things, appear in court and draw pleadings. He later joined Bovori Attorneys as an immigrations consultant, providing legal advice to clients on South African immigration law. From March 2015 to date, he consults with Fragaman Africa, one of the global leading immigration law firms, as a senior immigrations consultant, specializing in Francophone corporate immigration and labor laws. Through his legal experience, he managed to support many leading Fortune 500 companies to move their human capital throughout Francophone Africa with ease and to implement projects that have had a huge socio-economic development. One example is his role in providing immigration legal advice to a company that implemented the West African Power Pool, and this initiative enabled 14 countries to pool the electricity and easily sell it amongst themselves. He currently holds chamber in Illovo, which is part of the South African Bar. Colleagues, it gives me great pleasure to welcome our speaker today, Advocate Munyangama. Thank you.
Thank you, Advocate Mokhomotsi, for your kind presentations. Much appreciated. I just want to make sure with July, if am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Counsel.
Thank you, Advocate Bar. I'm going to share my slides. Can you see it? Can you all see my slide?
It's not yet visible. Could you try resharing it?
Okay, I'll try to reshare it again. Sorry, Advocate Bar. Sorry, I'm trying to. Yeah.
I think it should be visible.
Okay.
Council, do you mind if I share it from my side? Then I can control it from there.
Oh, okay. Then you can share it from your side. Then you can share it from your side. July say you can share it from his side. Please let me know once it's shared.
Council, yes, we may proceed.
Okay. So thank you everyone for the privilege and honor that you have given me to make this presentation. As it has been introduced by my colleague advocate Mokomotsi, I'm going to deal with the issue related to remote work visa option and their implication in the South African immigration system. My name is Advocate K Munyangama, and I'm currently with the Oxford Bar Chamber. Just not to waste time, in terms of the agenda, we're going to look into the background of remote working visa option. We're going to deal with the aspect of their implementation around the globe or globally. And the third point, we're going to check on the general eligibility requirement as applied to remote work visa option, and also their implication in terms of the South African immigration system, since it has been confirmed in by President implementing this model of visa type. And also we're going to lastly consider the consideration in terms of the employer of holders of remote work visas. What should they be aware and what should they not be aware of, and what should be their take in terms of dealing with this new visa that has been launched globally. So in terms of the background, all started with the COVID-19 pandemic. During the COVID-19 pandemic, a numbers of employees found themselves stranded in countries where they could not go back to their home country or country of residence to perform their work. So as a result, they were forced to remain in the country where they're stranded and perform work, utilizing or taking advantage of the technology and broadband, which is broadly expanded globally to perform work. From the official or immigration authority side, they were forced to be flexible in terms of making sure that they make their visitors in their respective countries compliant and legally, despite the fact that their visa could have been expired by virtue of them finding themselves stranded in the country. This trend was trending globally in each country. We could find people in the UK stranded in the hotel. In South Africa, we could find also a numbers of foreign expatriates who found themselves in South Africa because they were visiting or they were into business visa or tourist activities, not allowed to leave the country because of COVID-19 restrictions. So as at the time of the post-19 COVID-19, the remote working has become a tool that both employees and employers are utilizing to make sure that they can cut certain costs in terms of managing their office, and also give some flexibility to their employer to find themselves comfortable working or performing work in their natural context, social context. So the implementation of COVID-19 across the globe has started with most of countries that are part of the EU and also some island countries. So these countries have sought in the remote working an opportunity to cater for itinerant professional. You find certain professional by nature who want to work by moving across the world. Certain individuals such as senior managers of big companies are not usually comfortable working office. They want to move around to enjoy luxury time while performing work. So over the last month, we've picked up that all above 30 countries have already started implementing the remote work visa. And also companies are utilizing this visa type to make sure that they strategize in terms of their policy to retain certain talent and skills. To illustrate, let's say that a South African company find necessary to utilize a particular scarce skill or a scarcity skills that are scarce in terms of the labor market. They may be able or required to engage with that particular person in the particular country where he is to outsource that skills without having the individual move or relocated to South Africa. And this has been the trend across the globe. And we could also find country using the opportunity of working remotely to open up to the entire world in response of the crisis that have been impacting most of countries in terms of tourist activities. So they allow visitors who are coming to perform work to enter the country so that they can also, apart from them working, they can also be involved in the tourist activities or do others work activities. So that's the background when it came to the concept of the new concept of remote working. But now, as you can see, the remote working is mostly deal also with an element of employer or employees who are on the move, which means that, let's say, what happened in Ukraine recently and Russia, certain employees find themselves in a situation that they have to run the country and they don't have a choice. So they elect to live abroad. And while they are living abroad, they have the advantage of keeping their work. There is a kind of stability on their income as the war is continuing. They don't need to stop working. They are working abroad while they are not living in their country of residence. That trend was also picked up in Russia, where certain Russians national have moved also Russia to other country while keeping their employment contract. So the flexibility that comes with remote working have triggered official and authority globally to create a visa type which is called nomad digital visa. So the nomad digital visa is a visa that is catering for, or is catered for, designed to cater for remote workers. So to date, it has been proven that more than 30 countries, as I mentioned, are already implementing this remote visa type called the nomadic visa. And also, as you can see from the graphic that I displayed there, countries are in blue is where the nomadic remote visa are being implemented. And yellow are countries that are considering to implement this visa, includes South Africa. And you notice that in Africa, among the 30 countries that are enforcing this visa type, we do have Namibia, Seychelles, Mauritania, Mauritius, and Sao Tome and Principe. So this is an opportunity for both employees, employer, and even the government to capitalize on this trend of legalizing or regularizing the working remotely. So working remotely came also with certain implications, and certain implication in terms of the labor law and others related laws, such as the law that are related to doing business and so on. So it's important that as legal practitioners and also as also government officials and business, we are aware about these trends so that we can be able to contain the issues that may arise from these new trends. So currently in South Africa, the Department of Home Affairs have received instruction from the cabinet to amend the immigration laws and regulation by including an option of remote working. This will have a positive impact in that fragment. So South Africa is one of the tourist-oriented country among others globally, and South Africa has also been affected by the crisis as a result of COVID-19 in terms of tourist activities. So in promoting or regulating remote working, we may be able to have expatriate employers who can elect to come and stay in the country just to perform work. So they remain employees of their employers in their home countries while performing work in South Africa. So they make the decision to make policy by the authorities as to take in consideration the need of the individuals that are coming to perform work, and these may be either by way of creating new provisions that are going to cater for the immigration, for the need of employees that are working remotely, or they can adjust or amend existing policy just to make sure that they respond to the need of remote workers. So We also noticed that while preparing or working on the new policy in terms of the legalization of work of the employee that are working remotely, there may be also some risk and which employers and business and authority need to be aware of. One of the risk is the the company, the foreign company which is not registered in South Africa, can find themselves exposed to the payment of, of income tax or even other related tax in terms of their business activity by virtue of having their employee being present for a certain or a continuous period of time in South Africa. Let's illustrate. Let's illustrate this as follow. Let's picture like a company like IBM, which probably may not have a presence. They have a presence in South Africa, but just for the sake of explanation, let us assume that they don't have a physical presence in South Africa. So at a certain stage, they deploy their employee in South Africa under remote visa. So in terms of the law, a foreign employee can only find themselves in country for a certain period. Beyond a certain period, they can establish a concept which is called a permanent establishment, PE, which is defined as a confirmation that the business has an ongoing or stable presence in a country or a state outside of its own base and is therefore liable to pay those tax to the tax master. So it's very important for business to be aware about such a danger. You may find yourself being implicated or double tax in terms of income for your employee who has been found working for a certain period of time out of South Africa. And I pick up like in Mauritius, where these misalignments come out in their regulations. They say that up to 6 months, if the employee who is working remotely in Mauritius may find themselves liable to pay income tax. Now, we picture ourselves of an employee who has to pay income tax in a country where he's working remotely, and also they have also to pay tax in the country where they are staying. So those are kind of implication of double taxation that we foresee in terms of this, the implementation of the remote visa type. So in terms of the general eligibility or requirement of the visa, it has been consistent in all the 30 countries that have been implementing this new visa type, that the requirements are almost the same. So for one to qualify for this visa, they must establish that they have an employment contract, a permanent employment contract with the company of the country of origin where they are residing, and also they have to meet a minimum requirement when it comes to their financial threshold. So it's up to each country to determine which are the benchmark in terms of how much should the employee have so that they can be eligible for the remote visa in the country where they are going. And on other point also, in all those countries, they also allow employees elect to work remotely to bring their family members along with them. And the same requirement in terms of meeting the financial threshold can be extended or is always being extended to their dependent as well. So they need also to make sure that they are covered in terms of their health insurance, because the countries that are hosting them want to make sure that they don't have the risk of having individuals who are working with foreign country in their country and have been to be exposed to risk of them being in danger of their life, and also it may be having a bearing on the government should they be not have an insurance. We also pick up that like in Cape Verde, when they issue those restrictions, they select certain countries specifically where you find wealthy people. They don't just open the visa to the entire world. They become more restrictive. They open to European and Lusophone nationals so that they can be eligible for this country. So probably we're looking forward to what the Department of Home Affairs are going to provide us as a policy. We hope that this type of visa, probably they may not also be open to the entire world. They're going to be selective in ensuring that they are targeting countries where they can find people who can bring in some kind of financial capital or to boost the economy. So we also we did share already that image of the picture and the graphic of the development of the remote visa globally, and we also touch on the implication in terms of policy making and in terms of also the advantage that bring this visa with, and also the disadvantage. We also touch on the element of the restrictive nature that we did pick up on the trends across the 30 country where they become more selective. It's not going to be open to everybody. It's going to open only to countries where they can target certain people can bring in some kind of capital or financial relief. So in terms of considerations, our recommendation has always been that employees or employers have to keep good record of whatever supporting document information that they may have when they are utilizing or processing this visa type. They need also to be much more aware about the dynamics that are happening in the world of immigration to make sure that they are more informed and more knowledgeable so that they can prevent themselves to find themselves in a compromising situation as business or employees that may end up by jeopardizing or exposing them to reputational damage in case that the employees working remotely may not be conducting themselves ethically or conducting themselves in such a way that they uphold the values of the organization or respect the law of the country where they've been placed. So also, we touch on the consideration of making sure that they understand the applicable tax regimes of countries where they are allowing the employee to work on remotely to prevent the establishment exposure, which is a concept being utilized mostly by tax authorities in fining foreign companies should they find that their expatriates have been working in country for a certain period longer than the expected period, despite of them not having a valid work permit. So also stakeholders, which are companies, government authorities, and business, have to make sure that they pay attention to policy development. Immigrations is one of the dynamics laws in the world. It's a law which change at any time without prior notifications. It's a tool that authority utilize to make sure that they protect the security of their country. It's a tool that authority also can utilize, like in this instance, to make sure that they capitalize on business opportunity to bring in investors. Immigration laws are tools that country utilize to make sure that they sell themselves in terms of tourist activities. So it's important for all the stakeholders to make sure that they follow the policy development where the employees are to make sure that these are catered for and are receiving appropriate immigration advice, and they remain fully compliant in terms of the local laws of country where they've been established, and so on. So the other element that also we pick up, which I didn't add on the slide, is that we also notice that what happened in Turkey, the earthquake also creates an opportunity for remote workers. So employees who were working on on places where the town was destroyed by earthquake have been moved or park in certain, they're utilizing the concept park. They've been parked like the way we're parking cars in under our basement. They've been parked in certain country pending the return to the normal. But while they're in those countries, they are also performing work, still continue performing the same work. They still earning their salary. So there's an element of permanency into people employment. So we're not anymore in that age where work is holding us. I can move, I can travel, I can enjoy. We're living now at the age where we're working and we can also delight ourselves to entertain ourselves, to travel wherever we are, wherever we want, while performing work. So the concept of work is becoming not geographically limited. It's becoming more global based on the development of technology, the outcome of COVID-19, where it has been established that an individual doesn't need to be necessarily physically at a certain particular place so that I can perform work. And this, even we can notice that in our judiciary, the way proceedings are happening. Certain proceedings are online and they are virtual. We've been holding and experiencing virtual court proceedings, and we enjoy them. So we don't need necessarily to be in a particular high court physically so that the matter can move. So these are a kind of reality that we don't need to shy away. We need to embrace them and move them, and they will be having serious impact on how we consider, or we are considering, all the employment contracts used to be utilized in terms of the Labor Regulations Act. So the element of being there physically as an aspect of a validity of an employment contract may not be necessarily what we're going to be experiencing from now and onward. And there's also an element also of employment benefits. We have also picked up a trend where right now people, when they're negotiating their employment contract, they want to see if there's any provision that is dealing with working remotely or hybrid working. So someone can reject an employment contract because it's missing those kind of advantage. So these are a reality that we're looking forward. And just to recap, we during COVID-19 and post-COVID-19, we have been exposed to a new way of doing things in terms of working. We don't need to be physically present in a geographical space for us to perform our work. Technology has easy our task, so we can work wherever we are, wherever we find it comfortable, as long as we comply with the country policy of where we or as long as we comply with the laws, the local laws of country where we want to work. It's true, there are certain nature of work nature that may necessarily require people to be physically present. And those work are like your engineers who have to be working on sites, and so on. But most of IT work, most of consultancy work, most of legal advisory work can be done remotely. So let's face this reality and make sure that we deal with it as legal practitioners and read into laws and make sure that we pick up opportunities or loopholes that have to be improved so that we respond to the needs of the society. The society are experiencing this reality of wanting to work while they are remotely. So we can't shy away. We need to be as a legal advisor to make sure that we contain. And I'm sure that the South African law system, immigration law system are on the right track, because we'll be probably the 5th country after Namibia, Mauritius, Seychelles, and Sao Tome to embrace this type of visa. And there will be economic advantage. Picture yourself, a person like Bill Gates decide to say, I'm going to work in Cape Town. How much is going to spend locally for a period of 6 months? Or Musk decide, I'm going to be working for the next 3 months or 4 months in Johannesburg. And you give him that. So it's going to be open up to exposure in terms of boosting the economy and selling the country outside in terms of the tourist activity, as well as also assisting the hailing tourist sector to recover slowly. And I'm sure that by the end of not this year, probably early next year, we'll be having regulations that will provide us with clear indication where are we standing as a South Africa in terms of remote working, if the nomad digital visa. Thank you, and I'm open for question now.
Thank you so much, Council, for that insightful session. We have
Any
a
question?
few questions. Are you able to hear me? I'm just going to quickly.
Yes, I can hear you, but you're breaking a little bit.
Okay. I was just saying thank you. Thank you so much for that insightful session. Thoroughly enjoyed it. I just need to run through some questions that are in the chat box for you, and you will unmute yourself and give us an answer or indicate your sentiments regarding the said question. We have a question from Advocate Ford. He says what are the requirements for digital nomad visa within the SADC countries?
So for the SADC countries, thank you, Advocate Bad, for your question. For the SADC countries, we do have only Namibia and South Africa, who's going to join now. So the requirements are that there must be first an employment contract that has to exist between the applicant and the employer, who has to be a non-South African registered company. That's the first requirement. And the second requirement is a threshold in terms of how much financially you are viable to cover your expenses or your stay in a country where you're going to be back, if it's you or your dependent. And the third one is dealing with the insurance policy that you need to cover to have in terms of your stay. So those are the insurance that you need to have, such as your medical aids, your medical aids, and also your medical insurance. All these have to be in place. If your kid are attending school, and most of those kids, sometimes we saw they are either homeschooling or they're attending school online. So you need also to make sure that their school fees are covered, and also should you be staying in a hotel or renting, make sure that you comply with all those requirements in terms of your stay. And also we also talk about the restriction to the certain nationality, which I found it only on one country, which was Sao Tome Principe, where they issued this visa only to EU nationals and also Lusophone speaking country. I don't know what is the rationale behind that, but my perception is just that probably they are targeting certain countries or certain places where they feel like they can attract more wealthy people. I'm not sure if I have addressed your answer, Advocate Bart.
I'm sure you have. He'll let us know if he needs any more clarity. Thank you for that. A second question from Advocate Ford says, when earning income remotely, which tax dispensation applies?
So Advocate Mokomotsi, I miss you. Your voice you just disappear.
Okay, I'll repeat the question. Just
Yes.
for the sake, I believe there's just a network issue. Do you perhaps want to mute yourself while I speak, and you can unmute yourself to give your answer, please? We seem to be having some congestion of sorts. I'll repeat my question. When earning income remotely, which tax dispensation applies? It's a question by Advocate Ford again.
Yes, so when it came to income, I saw in Mauritius, there is a provision in their regulation where it clearly states that the employees has to earn his salary in his account, bank account of his home country. So there is no space or option for them to work and receive that salary in their country where they've been parked, where they are working remotely. So there is even a disclaimer to say, should the employee and their employer decide to receive that salary in their own, in the country where they are, they're working remotely, as a consequence, they will be taxable. So from that, I can confirm that the regime that is applicable in terms of the income tax should be the one of the home country where the salary is being received. So should you or one decide to move the salary to the country where they are they are working remotely, then they're going to do it at their own detriment because they will be double taxed. And in that instance, it's going to be two regimes. It's going to be the regime of the home country where they are working as the employers, where the contract has been registered and where the entity has been registered. And also by virtue of them receiving that salary in their home country, then obviously the country where they have been packed as a remote work, the regime also will be applied.
Thank you,
Advocate Mokomotsi.
Thank you for that. There is a vote of thanks and a stunning contribution by Advocate Ntambeleni in the chat box, which I'll read out quickly. He says, thanks for your presentation, sir. I think what is happening is globalization that was inevitable. My view is that this type of visa will create a lot of compliance and cyber attacks, as well as lack of communication, discipline at the workplace, together with team building and engagement that is key in an employment relationship. And I agree to that, echoes our sentiments over here. My colleague and I sitting and discussing the same thing. Thank you for that, Advocate Ntambeleni. A question from Laura. He says, on average, how long would it take to process a business visa? Just on average.
So on average, what is the estimated processing time for the business visa in South Africa? Is that the question? If I'm audible, if did I hear you properly?
Please repeat your question again, Council.
So I just want to confirm if I understand properly the question. Advocate Laura want to find out what's the average processing time of the business visa in South Africa. Is my understanding correct?
I believe that's what she meant. Advocate Laura, if you don't mind, please unmute yourself to clarify your question. If you are still with us. Okay, she indicated to me that she has network issues, but I imagine that that's the direction she's taken with her question.
Okay, in terms of the business visa, the average processing time is plus or minus 3 to 4 weeks. But recently there's a backlog and there's a directive or a notice from the Department of Home Affairs, which was issued yesterday, where all temporary visa, including business visa that are having a backlog of more than a year, have been extended until December 2023. So the normal processing time is around 3 to 4 weeks, but right now we are out of the normal processing time due to the backlog, and until yesterday, there's an official notification which has been published by the Department of Home Affairs, confirming that all those pending visas has been extended until December 2023 this year. And let's hope that within the meantime, the department will try and clear the backlog. I may share also that notification within the group, WhatsApp group, if anyone wants it from the Department of Home Affairs.
All right, thank you for that, Council. Thank you so much. We don't seem to be having any more questions on the platform. I just would like to take this opportunity to not only thank you, our speaker, for today, but to thank everybody that was tuned in to our session. We highly appreciate it.
There's a hand.
Is there a hand?
I'm sorry, Advocate Ulebogeng. There's one more question from the chat box.
Okay, it hasn't come through on my end. I seem to be having very slow connectivity today. Apologies for that. Let me read it from a separate computer. It comes from Mwabile Mnisi. She asks that how many countries under BRICS are already signed under this system? So how many countries under BRICS are already signed under this system? Thank you. Thank you for your question, Mwabile.
I'm trying to load also the chat box. It's still loading.
Are you able to hear me, Council? I can read the question to you. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can. I can hear you now.
Right. The question is, how many countries under BRICS are already signed under this system?
Yeah, so under the BRICS is only South Africa, which is intending to start this new visa process. So the trend on countries that are rushing to implement the nomadic digital visa is that we notice that these are countries that are more touristic oriented. I think South Africa is one of those countries. So I don't think among the BRICS, which is Brazil, Russia, China, they may be having the same global status in terms of tourist oriented countries. So having Namibia close to South Africa, they're having already implementing that visa type. I think South Africa wants also to capitalize on those opportunities because they are a tourist-oriented country, and I think is a good decision to boost our tourist image abroad and seize this opportunity to implement this visa. So among the BRICS is only South Africa who is already at an advanced stage have this policy published and being implemented.
Thank you for that insight, Council. Are there any more questions? It seems that there aren't any. We're still running very on track in terms of time. I believe it's the perfect time to then use this opportunity to thank everybody for tuning in today. Thank you to our participants, and a special vote of thanks to you, our speaker, Council. And we look forward to more insightful and engaging sessions in the future. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
So, Advocate Mukomotsi, there's a question that I pick up on the chat box where I think it's from Advocate Romeo. He deals with the issue of team building, engagement, which are key in terms of employment relationship. So to address that question, I think that is related to employment relationship and the cohesion of employment, team building, and so on. But currently, I think the new element of allowing employers to decide where they want to be so that they can perform work. It has been established that people who are working remotely are more productive than people who are working from home. There are stats that are out there confirming that element, that and also people are working remotely are spending more time at work than those who are working within a designated physical place. So now the trend is about productivities, is about also having people spending more time at work than having individuals who are friendly, are socializing, and probably they may not be productive. So the company have to capitalize on what is the trends that can help us to become more profitable. Is it to have a group of chomi or friends, or have someone who is working at a relax at his own place and be productive? And that person can even work at hours beyond the normal 8 hours. So it's up to each business and their orientations and how they want to see things going. But I think in terms of the employment contract, there are certain parameters that need to be realigned based on the current new trend of doing work. So the concept of employment contracts and work employment, everything is changing and is in a particular dynamic that each and every business have each way its values of doing things. That's my comment on that. Back to you, Advocate Mukomotsi.
Thank you very much for that. That concludes our session for today.
Thank you, Laura. Thanks, Laura.